Welcome to Transforming Human Consciousness. I am Kevan Keola. And again, we are continuing with our guests that we had a few shows ago, Dr. Rao and Mrs. Rao, the presidents and vice president of an organization, international organization that works with the United Nations called PRIDE. Also, we're going to discuss within this program the women's conference, recent women's conference in Beijing, China, and all the information which has to do, again, with the oneness of humanity and the education that takes place as a result of these exchanges between the peoples and the cultures of the world, and these wonderful ambassadors of that exchange that we have the pleasure of having. Welcome again, Dr. Rao and Joan Rao.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Such a pleasure having you again.
It's our pleasure.
Since we have mentioned what does PRIDE stand for, as is Pacific Rim Institute
for Development and Education.
Okay, and what you're involved in internationally, yes, especially between China and the United
Cross-cultural, really, education and development. And it goes into many fields of expertise, into the high-tech industry, into training in China, training in America. We do bring a lot of government officials to the United States, and they do special training here in the United States so they can learn the American way, the American culture, and then they take that back to China to implement.
We see. If a child is by any incident of accident with a war or whatever, is without parents, what are the process and how long will it take? Loving parents somewhere else in the world would like to adopt that child. Would it be possible to do it right away? Is it many obstacles in the way? And what does PRIDE hoping to do about that?
Well, talking about the orphans issue, now it's become urgent issue because the number of orphans in the whole world increasing rapidly. Right. And those orphans is a part of a human society, but their basic rights have been ignored or have not enough care for a long time. So somebody got concerned on their behavior, to be their voice, to raise up. This is a part of a human society, and their basic right is the basic of all kind of human rights. This issue is not some countries particular have. Every country have the problem.
That's right. It's a global issue.
Right. And as our knowledge, the children growing their brain, 75% have been completed before the years of 2. So if the 2 years, the baby age have not been cared enough, they will destroy her whole futures.
That's right.
And from a reasonable, responsible social citizenship, become a social troublemaker. Right. So it's important to consider those are part of our human society. When the whole world becomes smaller, they should be the first part we should care about.
But the way things stand in the world today, that if a child was abandoned yesterday, it would take at least 2 years or more before a person could help a child. And so with what Dr. Rao is saying, you could see that if a new baby was born or abandoned or part of some difficult situation, put in that difficulty, it would take that first 2 growing years where 75% of that child's brain is already developed. Psychologically and in every way, you could see how that child would be affected. And so this is a major problem in the world. When we were at the Women's Conference, we presented that the United Nations establish an International Orphans Day so that we could begin to focus on this critical issue and begin to address the major problems that are affecting all the countries. Yeah.
What are some of the accomplishments so far that you've seen, some of the stories?
Well, some of the things that we have done, PRIDE has done in the world, it's hard to say that you ever finish and accomplish anything, because it seems that everything goes on and on and on. That's right. But one of the things that we did in Mexico, I think that was really wonderful, is that we were able to assist the President's office to establish a committee for disaster. Because when they had their earthquake and so on and so forth, any disasters that they had, they were unable to reach out to the world and get any kind of assistance. So we were able to help them establish that in the President's office, so they were geared up whenever they would have any kind of catastrophe or anything, any crisis of any kind, that they could reach out internationally to the world.
So it seems like to me like this is what a consultant would do. So you're really facilitating and consulting governments and organizations of the world to become more ready and sensitive to the needs of the children.
Exactly.
In case of disaster.
And all human beings really. We need to realize that the earth is one country and mankind its citizens. You can say that, but to many people, unless you travel and you have some kind of a purpose, a goal, where you are reaching out and making friends and really getting in touch, not traveling as a tourist, you know, not going to a hotel where you see the same, if you're coming from America, you meet your American friends at the same hotel, you really haven't visited the country, or have any kind of goal in mind. So the more that the world gets used to even partnering, and that's why we made our nonprofit organization, that business would partner with nonprofit, with a humanitarian effort, that we must develop in our life a consciousness about our business and how we operate. We must have ethics about what we're doing so that the money that we are earning from the world is coming back again and helping in the communities. Not America helping everybody, but each country becoming conscious of helping themselves.
Right. So it's about empowering the people of the world.
Absolutely.
Rather than giving them fish to eat once a day, but teaching them how to fish.
Exactly. Exactly, and people get excited about it. The more we have even traveled in the world, and we've been sitting with many major companies and talking to them about they want to do something humanitarian, but they're too busy internationally or making money that they can't think of what it is that they need to do to help. So when you come and you show them there are certain issues that really are important to different countries and different areas that need to be addressed and need their help, they get very excited.
And at this point, I'm assuming that this is a monumental project.
Yes.
When you look at it from a global point of view. What are the next steps?
The first thing you have to do in order to solve a problem, and I think you know this, Kayvon, because you're dealing with conflict resolution, right? You have to realize that a problem exists.
Acknowledge that.
I think the worst thing in the world is to be ignored.
That's right. That's right. It is.
So one of the reasons that we are talking about establishing this International Orphans Day is to just acknowledge, first you have to have the acknowledgement that the orphans are existing in the world, and they most of the conditions that they live in, these abandoned girl babies as an example, which is a major subject for the United Nations right now, which we are concerned with, and we have delegates in New York helping, you know, to make proposals about this at this particular time. These poor girl babies in most countries, girls have no rights, they are not recognized, they have no right to inherit and so on. This is what the conference in Beijing was all about. A woman came all the way to the conference with one leg blown off, as an example, you know, because in her country there are these bombs, you know, that are mines, a minefield where they live, and to go to school. These children and these parents, they lose their children every day and so on. Another woman came and she was supporting her husband all her life, and then her husband got sick, and he died, and he didn't work, but she was the breadwinner in the household. But in that country, women's rights are not recognized to inherit or anything, so she became homeless, and all her family, they were homeless when she came home from work that day, the day that he died. You know, so people don't realize the seriousness, many times living in this country, you know, we don't realize the seriousness of what's happening all over the world. These poor girl babies, in many countries, the boys or the men are the ones that, you know, are important because the families, you know, live with the son and so on, and so they have the right of inheritance. These girl babies then are thrown into conditions where they never receive any education. There's no money to feed these poor babies. You may see in an orphanage 18 babies drinking on one bottle. You know, and then so by the time they reach the age of 2, what we're talking about, if they reach the age of 2, there's serious conditions there.
And
So everyone needs to become aware. It isn't something that we need to do. We need to bring this awareness about in the whole world, that if you educate a child, you know, that if the community is responsible, the world, when a child is born, the world has to be responsible for that child.
It takes the village to raise a child.
Exactly.
So we hope this petition process of to set up International Orphan Day become an educational process to educate us among us how to care and love each other. Start from care the orphan who has no parent, who no blood relation with us, but we love the orphan, we can love each other. From this love, we can expand into the whole world. And those baby right now is still in the same situation. Every day, thousands of the baby is dying. So right now, what we take action is try to put this issue in the nation, become an urgent agenda, and additional to the platform of actions from 286 to 289. Because in the platform have different viewpoint, have action to be taken. And we hope the orphans issue become one of them.
One, because the children are our future. So that's why at our age, you know, we're grandparents, and this is an important part of what we do too. You know, we look at our children and our grandchildren and we say, look, what are we leaving for our children to inherit? What teachings are we giving them so that they will care about the world, and so on?
It's amazing, and I didn't even know that we did not have the recognition of the orphans. But let's go ahead and take our break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the challenges, maybe some of the obstacles, and maybe some other accomplishments, and become more aware and in touch, and perhaps some of us could participate and help along with this. For our audience, I would like for you to stay tuned, and we shall be back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Transforming Human Consciousness, and we're going to continue this very, very fascinating conversation with Dr. Rao and Mrs. Joan Rao, the president and the vice president of Pride. We were talking about the projects that you are doing, the cultural exchanges and enrichments and the educational projects that you're doing between China and America. A thought came to my mind, and that is that China has been a communist country for many, many, many years. And the whole concept of religion, which is one of the most powerful and fascinating aspects of culture, somehow is obscure, at least in many of our minds, is obscure what has been going on in there. So,
yes. Well, you know, the Chinese pride themselves on being scientific also. So the Chinese do believe in cause and effect. But although if you use the word God in China, then the people think that you're a Christian. So they associate God with Christianity.
Or Catholic.
Yeah, or Catholic, right, yeah.
more of a Catholic, not all Christians.
Yeah. So, but definitely they have a concept in the spirit world and in high morals and in religion. And recently, I'll let An tell you, recently when we contacted the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences and had brought a delegation over there to present comparative religion, and also many Baha'is who presented the Baha'i teachings at that time.
As a result of that cultural exchange in 1994, so the Chinese scholar from Chinese Academy of Social Science, both in Beijing and Shanghai, they want to visit America to study further about religions, about Baha'i. So we agree, we organized their trip to America for 3 weeks. And they told us they are the first religious scholar from China visit the other countries, visit America.
So this was never done before?
The first time, this first time. So the result is very excited. When they go back, they report about the trips and a published paper in their magazine called Religions and the Cultures.
As a matter of fact, they did a wonderful article about the Baha'i temple that you have on the wall here. They did an article about their visit to that Baha'i temple when they came to America.
She's in Chicago.
It was wonderful.
Now, were they, within the period of time that communism was in rule in China, was religion practiced in any way or shape or form?
No, no. It's only been recently that really everybody has been, people are now free to practice their religion in China, although you cannot teach religion in China. Okay.
No, you can.
Only the religions that were established before.
You can have normal religious life inside your church or temple,
I see. So,
and also try not to connect with any political activities that are against Chinese government. That's become legal. So every religious activity should be known by government, certain department.
so the respect for the government is a very crucial issue.
Yes.
Respect
Oh,
of
yes.
any religious organization is a very crucial
Oh,
issue,
yes.
which is really a fascinating
Yes.
thing.
But if you hear, I mean, if you ever made one of these exchanges with us and we got into the discussions and the subjects, you would feel that you were talking to people who had a great spiritual background, and the Chinese people are very much interested in religious principles and social teachings and ethics and a moral code of ethics. They're looking for spiritual teachings that they can bring into their schools and teach their children to have a much higher level of ethics in their dealings.
So,
Yeah, so the Baha'i teachings become very important for China, and in many of the exchanges, it has been said by the Chinese that this is the Baha'i teachings are really a subject that needs to be studied in China, and so that's why there are many academic exchanges now for studying the Baha'i faith.
and especially with its global outlook and universal, embracing all humanity within it, seems like there would be very little any culture
right.
would have conflict
And
with.
even the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences now has asked us in 2 years from now to set up an international religious symposium in which they would like to have all of the faiths introduced so that people would be able to learn about all of the different religions.
Which really, when we look at it, and the Baha'i principles tells us that religion is a powerful force. We can't ignore it as part of
That's right.
the civilization. I mean, how
Right.
can we civilize ourselves if we do not acknowledge our
Exactly.
spiritual self and undermine it?
Right.
Exactly.
Which, in essence, when we ignore religion, we are undermining our own spiritual reality.
Yes, and this is one
Yes.
of the things we've had a lot of discussion with the Chinese about. They said that was one of the things, I remember what the comments of one of the scholars where he pointed out that the thing that he enjoyed most when he was studying the Baha'i teaching, because they had not heard about the Baha'i teachings before, and one of the things that stood out in his mind was the fact that they did not put any other religion down. And that they gave such great respect to all of the prophets of God all over the world and all of the religions, and this really impressed them. And this concept that the earth is one country is very, very akin to Chinese thinking.
That's very interesting.
So it's an important country since a quarter of the world's population lives there. Right?
Well, I would say it played a very, very powerful role for this culture and these people to consider the oneness of humanity.
Absolutely.
Because, as you said, and by sheer number of them, they would make a difference in the way the civilization progresses.
Yes,
Right.
and we've had the opportunity to present and help a lot of teachers go to China. We place teachers that teach English, and also teach a particular subject in English, whether it's science, or this kind of thing, because China is very interested in learning American English right now.
Not English.
Not English, American English.
I remember that they say Bernard Shaw says that we and Americans have many things in common except for language. So I would say the distinction. If people would like to find you,
Yes.
they like to find Pride, and they would like to get information from you or be able to find out if they could offer some of their services, is this a possibility?
Yes. We have arranged the teacher position in China, but also we help find the other position For example, Shanghai Harbor need divers.
Divers, yeah.
Yeah.
Ocean divers.
They, to training their how to manage their ocean oil drilling.
I see.
And how
This is
to
technology, education.
right. So need
technology.
an expert go there to training.
I see.
Then they're through us to searching for the expert.
I see.
And we emphasize the principle: when anyone go to China, you must love Chinese people, and obey government law, and everything is legal. So every door will open, friendships are open, yeah. And at the same time, you have overcome the cultural shock, cultural difference. You learn from them, they learn from you. That's the process of unification of the whole world. It's the process of cultural merging. Yeah. So this is the what we pride doing, just with the character of cross-cultures. Yeah. Anything have cross-cultural characters inside.
That's, at this time, at the global village that we're living, truly it is. Everything does.
Yeah, even we do business the same way. If you cannot overcome the difference of culture, you cannot even negotiate with the contract, because the people talking different concept, even use the same vocabulary and terminology, but that means different things. Now, how could you make a joint venture, make a business cooperation? It's impossible. So, in order to develop social economic project, you also need the cross-cultural exchange.
Absolutely.
So in China, we always go to dinner first. We get to know everybody first. Friendship becomes first, you know.
And eating would be
Eating
one of
is
those,
very important, like it is in many cultures.
which
Yeah.
is true. And that brings us to the activities that you do, travel around the country and around the world. Seems
Yes.
like that's
Yes.
you know,
Exactly. And now, of course, we live in China part-time and we live in the United States part-time. And so we're back and forth all the time, and even to other countries. But our focus, because the conference was in Beijing this last year, it really, you know, kind of focused a lot of things that we were doing. So if people wanted to reach us in the United States, I imagine you can put the address up on the screen,
Right.
or whatever
We're going
it
to
is,
do
yeah,
that.
and have a phone number, and we can be reached here. If people would like to volunteer to help with the children's project, or
Or
if
the other
people are
project.
interested, if they are experts in certain fields, and they can offer a certain expertise to China, this is very important.
do they need to speak Chinese?
No,
Okay.
no,
We have a lot
but
of-
they should speak good English.
Yeah, we have a lot of training program.
I see.
Training how to manage, how to finance, how to maintain it, how to write the English business correspondence, so on and so on. A lot of programs need
The,
different experts.
For instance, like the Department of Transportation sent 85 people over from different provinces to the United States because they wanted to train in the American accounting system for transportation.
I see.
And then they went back to China and implemented that last year.
It seems really that we are forming an international language of doing things. The vision seems to be definitely the
Yes.
global.
Because originally when Pride started out, we did a lot of training in ESL in America, and we helped, I don't know if you know the program out of Orange County called Shortstop, which is a first-time offender criminal program for, you know, youth, so that if they have broken the law once, then they have to go through this process, and it's by the Orange County Bar Association. And Pride was very, helped them to get their grants and get on their feet so that they could help with this issue in Orange County. And so we've done a lot of training in the for the criminal system, but we also have done a lot of training with corporations with English as a second language to cross that barrier again for quality control, so that people, because here you have in America the best example of what it is to have a multicultural society, and the principle of unity and diversity. How do you, but if you can't even communicate, then we're talking about an international, universal language. It seems that English is being taught all over the world, really, as a second language of communication. And so this becomes very good, and we've done that quality control training, you know, so that people can begin to communicate with each other. But it isn't just the communication in the cross-cultural, because here we have a cross-cultural marriage. We were talking about that. And even though we know and we respect each other and our cultures and that, it has to rise above your culture too. It
Right.
has to come to a spiritual principle that of loving the world and humanity, that you see that love for humanity in each other. Because then, even if you do something that's different, it can be accepted.
I really thank you so much. I know the time is short, so I'd like to thank again for you coming, and thank our audience for transforming human consciousness. And if you have any questions, contact us through the Baha'i Faith in Claremont. Thank you so much.